Hey guys, and welcome to Trailz. What you see below you is a village, and in this video we are going to be testing villager raid spawning mechanics. Essentially we're going to be testing where they spawn. This is a super flat world, and I can look up and you'll see, as far as you can see, there are carpets. So basically, nothing should be able to spawn out here except for where I allow it. So I've created a small village down here where pretty much a small space of spawning down here, and I'm going to create little zones where things should spawn. But the first test we're going to do is see if something can spawn in this area if I bring in a bad omen effect. The reason behind currently in 1.14.2, if there's no good spawning chunks for a raid to spawn, it can spawn at 0 blocks outside of the village. So I'm curious, will that actually cause your raid to spawn within the village? And then what we'll end up doing is kind of see what ends up happening. I'm not sure if I should make a bigger one, and I can make future videos if needed, but let's see what happens when we do this. Or heck, let's see if it also spawns on carpets, but in theory they shouldn't be able to spawn on carpets. And they spawn right inside the village. Let's get rid of these guys. Okay, so as we saw, if there's nowhere else for them to spawn, they're just going to spawn right in your village. So you need to make sure that there's a place for them to spawn outside of your village. But let's see what happens if we clear out the spawning zone inside of the village. That way, if we remove all spawning space from within the village, and there's no space for them to spawn, what's going to happen? I can actually get some space. So when we look above, what's going to end up happening is there's going to be some colors. Green means inside the village, blue means wall. Get these guys down. Green means inside the village, blue means the wall, and red means outside the wall. So let's see what happens when we give myself some bad omen. Starts up. Let's see what happens if there's no spawning spaces within the area. These guys technically should not be able to spawn no matter what. The bad omen, the raid just cancels out and you're pretty much good. So if you have no place for the raid to spawn, the raid just goes away. Cool. So in theory, if you had some on the outside, so one on the inside, what happens now? Where are they going to spawn? Okay, currently they're outside the village. Okay, let me dispatch these guys. So far I've been killing most of these through commands, but nothing has spawned in this one spot. They've all been spawning outside of the village at this wall. So far so good. Okay, so we have a space, a little bit of space in here in the wall. We have a tiny slither of space outside of the wall, and then we have that space out here. So let's see what will happen when we give myself bad. Oh. So they spawned outside of the wall versus over there. Let's see if this command worked that I set up earlier. Nope, killed everything. Killed everything but them. Okay, so I've given them some spawning zones. I'm going to give myself a killing tool in case my current command fails. Okay, and let's... Okay, now let's see where they spawn. They either spawn inside the village, outside the village, or in one of these spawning patches. All outside of it. And that command failed. Okay, so I have a full chunk opened up because they tend to spawn in chunks from what it said in most of the patch notes. So this is a chunk that has some sparsely open spots, and this one has a lot of it, but it has a village in it. So let's see where they prefer. And I have a pretty open range, so let's give myself some bad omen, and let's see where this raid spawns, or where the raids start to spawn. Will it spawn inside the village, or will it spawn over there? It still spawns over here versus over there, and I have a pretty decent range. I should do this the easier way. So, let's see. So that's one wave. So it changes per wave, but I want to see. And still right outside of it. Okay, so we've created a straight line. There's still some spawning areas inside the village. Let's actually open up the village as well for spawning, for the sake of the testing. Just to keep this test a little bit more sterile. So they have the option of spawning inside the village or anywhere along this line. So they have the ability to spawn either 0 or I think it was like 5,000 blocks away. Let's see if I actually can get this going. Let's see where they spawn. Okay, so they spawned further away, but I needed to clear out a lot more space. Guys. Spawn. Okay, so let's spawn there. Spawn there. Okay, so it seemed like a majority of them spawned within 2 chunks over. Majority of them spawned 2 chunks over from the village. At least a small village like this. I'm going to have to do a test where we have a large village and to see where they spawn in regards to this, because I'm trying to test this to make sure that my big village doesn't, you know, die when I do this. Because I'd rather have this style of village not get destroyed when I have a raid come in, and I'm trying to make sure that raids aren't going to just spawn in the middle of village and just wreck me, that it's actually going to be fun and be something I can actually defend against, and not just a bugged out program that comes in and just destroys all my hard work. We'll do one more. I'm going to take a moment to actually just build up a multi-chunk village, and I'll kind of keep this style of setup going, and then I may build out a little further, and then we'll do one last test. Okay, so I have made a hustling and bustling village. It's a bit larger. Hopefully that's more spread out throughout it. What could be seen, and hopefully what may some people, if they want to make a living village similar to how I'm doing it, what it may be, though it could be larger, because mine is definitely going to be a lot larger. I kind of just cleared out a bit more space, just to see what would happen, especially if you restricted it out or had your render distance smaller. But let's give myself the bad omen effect, and let's see what happens. Let's see where it spawns. Everyone's freaking out, as they well should. Okay, and it spawned out there, which is definitely good. So let's... It's definitely encouraging. So I'm not responding here so far. Okay, so it seems like if you have a large village like this, you want to make sure you have a wide open area to, it seems like you want to make sure to have a wide open area for spawning. That way you get the most out of the raids, and so they don't spawn in there. So make sure you have plenty of space with, grass, and that way they can kind of come in from a distance. And make sure your render distance is up, because they were spawning at literally the edge. So that is definitely a plus. I could bring in another one and see what happens. I could do another flat world. And I'm kind of happy with that, especially since I created a large one like this, a large test world. And I think some more testing is definitely needed, because there's a lot of different factors that could be done. But I think the community could definitely kind of also work on this. There's a lot of better technical Minecrafters out there. This was kind of me just putzing around with this, but I think this kind of was some good initial tests with this to see how the spawning works, and I'm kind of happy with this. I kind of now took away with this what I can do to kind of both protect my village and also kind of make it so that they spawn outside of my village as well. So I know I need to reduce the spawning area inside of my village, make sure I have village points of interest all around my village, and make sure that there's plenty of places for them to spawn outside of my village so that I can increase the chance of them spawning in the distance. But definitely concerned me that when I had space for them to spawn outside of there and there was not a lot of other places for them to spawn, they chose to spawn right on the edge when I had a small village. That concerned me. I'm not sure if that's a bug or what, but definitely I now know I need to open up a lot of space. But this is me kind of putzing around. I'm not super technical, but at least we know how to protect these guys. Now that I have the hero effect again, time to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Wait, this is creative. I really can't enjoy the fruits of the labor. Oh well, but thanks for watching Trailz. I hope this helps you in your worlds. I know it's going to help me in mine. I figured I was going to be testing this anyways, so I figured I would record it. So I hope you learned something, and I hope this allows you to do some testing of your own, and let's see if this helps grow some as helps other people as well. So see you guys in the next video. Bye.